This is it. The time has come. This week, a big day is happening for many across the country. Talk Like Jar Jar Binks Day. Never mind what Star Wars fans are getting up to on May the 4th. Imagine what those dirty sods get up to on Talk Like Jar Jar Binks Day. But this week, I'm not worried about Talk Like Jar Jar Binks Day. No, I'm worried about something scarier. GCSE Results Day. Fun fact, did you know that in GCSEs, coursework is nearly extinct? Only GCSE subjects like art, drama, music and media have an ounce of coursework. And that little fun fact right there really sets the theme of today's topic. Now, in my last video, we tackled A-levels, where I said this. In our final year at English secondary schools, or high schools if you want to call them that, we do these exams called GCSEs, which I'll soon be making a video about too. And once you finish those exams, you'll have three options. 1, do a BTEC, which is a 2 to 3 year practical course. 2, do an apprenticeship. Or 3, do A-levels. And A-levels are where you study 3 subjects of your choice for the span of 2 years to prepare you for a long exam at the end of the year for each subject. And how well you do in those exams usually determines whether you can go to university or not. Thank you very much for that explanation, Ollie. You silly little So let's now break down the very exams that come before A-levels or BTECs. As it stands, the current GCSE system requires you to do 9 or 10 subjects, with maths, English language, English literature and science all being compulsory. The rest is of your choice. But you remember that fact I just told you before, where coursework is nearly extinct in GCSEs? Yeah, well, that wasn't the case over a decade ago.
Right now, tens of thousands of pupils in England are sitting GCSEs, but if they were studying history, they might notice something. Because with more exams and virtually no coursework, the new GCSEs look a lot like the O-levels of another age.
By making GCSEs more demanding, more fulfilling and more stretching, we can give our young people the broad, deep and balanced education which will equip them to win in the global race.
In the new exams, coursework, which counts towards a final grade, will be replaced by end-of-year exams, except in science. Courses will be more demanding. In English, for instance, pupils will be expected to study a complete Shakespeare play rather than sections. And instead of A's and B's, results will be graded from 1 to 8, with 8 the highest.
That's right. Former Education Secretary Michael Gove, who looks like fungus from Monsters Inc. when he drinks a glass of water, revealed in 2013 that GCSEs would now be graded via numbers, be much more exam-based, and English students would have to memorize quotes from Shakespeare rather than have the text by their side. And yeah, I know, right? Memorize them. I can't even remember what time I'm meant to have dinner. Never mind what day did Romeo and Juliet have a f***ing quickie. But the argument today is that just like A-levels, GCSEs don't prepare you for the real world. They don't give you practical life tools, emotional intelligence, or career-specific skills. All the current GCSE system seems to care about is grades and how many facts or quotes do you know off by heart. It makes the students who aren't so academic but really good at the creative and practical stuff feel stupid. Which now leads us to another point. This current GCSE system has had a serious effect on teenagers' mental health. Young Minds reported that 63% of teenagers have experienced mental health issues due to the pressure of GCSEs, with 30% of those even skipping meals. So it's clear to say, the GCSE system needs to change. But what if I was to tell you right now that there is a politician in the UK trying to offer an alternative to GCSEs?
Over the last 12 months, the Greater Manchester Baccalaureate has been laying the foundations to support our young people to have a clear line of sight through technical education into our economy.
And let me stop right there, because it's true. Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, or the guy who should have won the f***ing Labour leadership in 2015, has given students in Manchester an alternative to GCSEs called the MBAC. And now let's cut to Ollie in the present with bed hair because he explained terribly before what the MBAC is. So the MBAC, like GCSEs, requires you to do maths, English language, English literature, science, but also requires you to do IT. And then instead of making you pick a random bunch of subjects, the MBAC then requires you to pick one big subject that's worth multiple GCSEs. So this could be health and social care, business, design and technology, or creative arts. Now let's go back to Ollie in the past to explain a bit more about the MBAC. Guess what? The MBAC is far more coursework based. Heck, the subjects are even modelled to give students career-specific skills, hence why IT is compulsory, because so many employers nowadays require you to have a basic knowledge of computing skills. And Burnham came up with the idea as he knew those more creative students who struggled academically were feeling neglected by the GCSE system. And look, unless you believe everything Dave from Greggs tells you, you can tell that I agree a lot with MBAC's intentions. But to reform GCSEs for the whole country, I believe we need to bring the good qualities of GCSEs and the good qualities of MBAC together. Oi, cut it out! F***ing cut it out! So here's my pitch. GCSEs should only require 7 subjects. Those being maths, English language, English literature, IT, and 3 other subjects of your choice. So yeah, that's right. Science would be an option, not compulsory. I mean, come on, let's be real. You learn all the important stuff in year 7, which is making babies. Oh yeah! But hold on, that's not all. Whilst maths would remain exam-based, it would divert to a larger focus around budgeting and financial management, because that's everyday maths, not f***ing Pythagoras theorem. And last of all, in English, students would finally study a much diverse range of texts to get their creative juices going. Because when I did my bachelor's degree in creative writing, before that, I just assumed that all poems were about grass. And not the kind of grass that Snoop Dogg smokes, I mean f***ing grass on the ground. But then when I did my bachelor's degree at creative writing and I was forced to study poetry, you can imagine my surprise when I found out that actually poetry can be pretty exciting if you show the right poems. So yeah, basically studying literature that didn't just get Prince Philip horny. Now, before anyone says, but we need to be one of the leading countries in the world in education, what says we wouldn't be? Because honestly, this whole notion that exams have to be really hard and draining for young people just to compete with other countries on education is bullshit. Just take a look at Finland, for example. Their education is much more coursework based, and their alternative to GCSEs and A-levels only requires you to do 5 subjects. Finnish, Swedish, English, maths, and a subject of your choice. And guess what? They're ranked higher than we are in education, and they have much less of an overqualification crisis than we do. Plus, let's get a bit more honest here. I did these GCSEs when these reforms by Michael Gove first came into place, and guess how many I passed? 5. But since then, I've done a bachelor's degree, I've done a master's degree, and I now work with young people, helping them with their emotional well-being. So these current GCSE reforms haven't really had much of an impact on me after I did the exams. Also, funny story, but in parents' evening in year 11, my science teacher told me and my mum to my face that I should aim for an E in science. And I got that E. So miss, if you're watching this, it's been 8 years now. Where's my f***ing congratulations? But overall, maybe it's time we stop forcing kids to memorize quotes from Macbeth and actually build a system that doesn't leave them crying in the toilets, having a panic attack, because they forgot what f***ing Pythagoras theorem is. Alright guys, just before you go, I would really love it if you guys would comment what you think of my suggestion and what actually your suggestions would be to fix the GCSE system. Whether you agree with me or not, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts, because I'm thinking that in the next few months, I could do a video where I'm reading all your suggestions on all my different videos and policy ideas, and we can go through them in a video and I can give my opinions on it. Don't worry, I'll be nice as long as you're nice to me. But yeah, comment your ideas on how you would fix the GCSE system, and let's keep this trend going in future videos. So yeah, let's get a little think tank going. Peace.